So we're in chapter 3 and we're going to look at how we conjugate verbs, regular verbs in the present tense. And all verbs in Spanish end in either AR, ER, or IR in their unconjugated or infinitive form. So let's first look at AR verbs and let's see how we would conjugate them in the present tense. Well, for AR verbs, what do we do when we want to conjugate a verb? Well, let's follow the steps here. We, one, form the stem of the verb. How do we get the stem of an AR verb? Well, there it tells us, drop the AR ending. So let's look at some verb infinitives. Here we have the verb mirar. It ends in an AR. It means to watch. Let's get the stem. So we have to drop the AR. So the stem now is mir. Let's take a look at bailar, to dance. We want to get the stem. We drop the AR, so we get bail. And then we have cenar. It means to have dinner. We want to get the stem, so we have to drop the AR and we get sen. Next, let's look at what we have to do now to finally conjugate the verb. We take the stem and we have to add on the ending. Okay, so what are the endings? Every subject pronoun has a special ending that you add onto the stem when you are conjugating the verb with that subject pronoun. So if the subject pronoun is yo, what ending do I add onto the stem to get the present tense? I add on an O, and you should all know this by now. What if the subject pronoun is to, the familiar you, and it's an AR verb? What is the ending I add onto my stem? It's AS. We should all know that by now. Now, what if we have he, él, or she, ella, or usted, the formal you? What ending do I add on? It will be an A. Okay, and then these other two you may not be able to see, but what do I add on for nosotros? What ending? If I want to say we are doing something, and it's an AR verb. What is the ending? It's amos, A-M-O-S. And then finally, there's the other plural ending for they, ellos, or ustedes, you all. It'll be A-N. And this is very clearly explained in your book and elsewhere. Okay. Now, let's put the rubber to the road. Let's practice some conjugations, okay? So here we're going to have some sentences, each with a different subject pronoun. The subject pronoun will determine what ending we put on our verb to conjugate it in the present tense. So we have AR verbs, and they're given in their infinitive form. We need to conjugate them. So in the blanks provided. So it's yo blank. In mirar, we have to conjugate la televisión a las 8 de la noche. So we want to say, I watch TV at 8 in the night. Okay? So I've got to conjugate that verb, mirar. So I have to get the stem, which is mir, and I have to put on the magical ending, which is o. So it's yo miro. There's your answer. La televisión a las 8 de la noche. Now I'm going to use mirar again with tu, and I want to say, that you watch television all day, todo el día. So I have to get the stem mir. What is the ending that goes with tu for an AR verb? It's going to be as. Tu miras la televisión. Now let's look at another AR verb, a very important verb, trabajar, the verb to work. You need to be able to talk about yourself and things you do. Many of you have jobs and you work. So I want to say she works los lunes y miércoles. Well, lunes means Monday. Miércoles means Wednesday. We learned the days of the week in chapter 3. And we know that los, the definite article los, when it's plural and used with a day of the week, it means on every. It's recurring. So we want to say she works on Mondays and Wednesdays. The only way we can say that is with the definite article los. So let's conjugate this verb to work. We gotta get the stem. The stem would we drop the AR, we get trabaj. What ending goes with ella? It's an A. Ella trabaja. What about nosotros cenar a las 9 de la noche? So I want to say we eat dinner when? At 9 in the evening. How do I say at? When I'm talking about time. How do I say 9 o'clock? Las 9. I have to give the definite article and the digit. Since 9 is plural, I have to say las 9. Why do I make the definite article feminine? Because it's las 9 horas, and horas, time, is feminine in Spanish. I didn't mean to get off of our lesson on conjugating verbs, but I want to make sure you understand that you know how to tell time in Spanish, and why the time is always feminine, and why we use feminine articles with the digits, not masculine. Okay, so we want to say we have dinner, or we eat dinner. So we get the stem cen. What is our magical ending with nosotros? It's amos. Nosotros cenamos a las 9. Finally, we have bailar, another AR verb. Bailar, of course, is to dance. We want to say they dance on los viernes, on Fridays, de las 5 a las 10. So they dance on Fridays. De here means from. Las 5 means 5 o'clock. Okay, whenever you've got to have those definite articles before the digits to give the time. To a las 6. Las 6 means 6 o'clock. All right. So they dance on Fridays from 5 to 6 o'clock. What is the stem for bailar? It's bail. What's the ending for ellos? They. It's an. Bailan. Okay, let's look at ER verbs. How do we conjugate ER verbs in the present tense? Again, we have to get the stem. How do we get the stem? We drop the ending from the infinitive here. Our ending will be ER. So we drop that ER and let's get the stems. So comer is our first verb, to eat. Com is our stem. Leer, it means to read. We got to drop that ER to get the stem. So the stem will be le. And finally, a very handy verb, to do or make. We'll be using this a lot. You should know it immediately. Hacer. What is the stem? I drop the ER. It's as. As. Now how do we conjugate these verbs with the subject pronouns? We have to add on our universal, never changing, God-given endings. So what ending do I add onto the stem with yo? O. What about to? ES. So now we're with ER verbs, so I add an ES ending. What about él, ella, usted? He, she, you, the formal you, I add on an E. And you may not be able to see these, but for nosotros, and this is in your book, again, it's all over the place, and you should know these by now. Nosotros takes what? EMOS. Okay. And ellos takes EN. Ellos is they, or ustedes, you all. They both take an EN ending. Okay. Now let's do some practice with these verbs. Again, I give you a subject pronoun. I give you the verb in the infinitive or unconjugated form. We have to conjugate it. And we should understand these sentences. This is all basic vocabulary now that we've been working with for a while in chapter 3. So it's yo leer los lunes por las tardes. So I want to say I read. What does los lunes mean? A definite article in the plural before day of the week means on. Repetitively on Mondays. So I read on Mondays por las tardes in the afternoon. So let's take a look. How do I conjugate leer with yo? I get the stem, it's le. What's the ending for yo? It's o. Yo leo. Yo leo. Los lunes por las tardes. When you have two vowels together, each vowel, when you have a verb, is a new syllable. And again, how do I pronounce this? Leo, I put the accentuation on the first syllable. Oh, I'm sorry, not on the first syllable, I'm sorry, on the second last syllable. So the last syllable is O, and the first syllable is the E. Okay, so leo, yo leo, I read. Okay, you want to now say, you want to use conjugate leer with tu. and una vez a la semana. Una vez means once a week. Okay, so we want to say you read once a week. So how do I conjugate that verb? I get the stem, le. What's the ending for tu? It's an es. Okay, so tu lees. Tu lees. Here the two e's kind of align together, and so it's tu lees. You read. What about nosotros? We have another er verb, comer, to eat. So we want to say we eat a las 5 de la tarde. So you're telling me here, I eat at 5 in the afternoon. Okay, so how would I say that? I would say it, how would I say at 5 in the afternoon? I have to have that a there. Here a means at. How would I say 5 o'clock? Or las 5 is the only way I can say it. I have to have the definite article. Time is feminine, so it has to be las, and it's plural. Las 5 horas. So so I will have to conjugate that comer. So how would I conjugate it? I get the stem, com, and the ending for nosotros, for any verb, is hemos. So nosotros comemos. Let's take a look at correr, another verb. You should know this. It's the verb to run. It's akin to the verb courier in English, and a courier was somebody who ran things. In any event, let's see how we would conjugate this. We want to say, I run at night, por la noche. So the stem is cor, and they run. They run. And what is the ending that goes with they? It's going to be en. Corren, ellos corren. And let's look at this verb, hacer, to do or make. We want to say, she makes coffee at home, en casa. So what's the stem, as? What's the ending for ella? It's y, ella hace. Finally, our last category of verbs are our IR verbs. Let's go through, and we've got to know how to conjugate them in the present tense. So we've got to get their stem in step 1, and then in 2, we have to get the endings. We have to add the subject pronoun ending. That's just like we did in all the other slides. So let's take a look. We have vivir. What is its stem? Vive. I simply dropped the IR ending. What about asistir? Very important verb. It does not mean to assist. It has nothing to do with assisting or helping or anything. You should all know that verb. It means to attend. Attend. And it's always followed by an a when used in Spanish. But in any event, let's take a look at it. What is the stem of asistir? I dropped the IR and it's assist. Okay. Now, how do I what endings, what universal God-given endings do I add to IR verbs? When the subject pronoun is yo, I add an O. So just like AR and ER verbs. What about if the subject is tu? I add an ES, an ES. This is just like ER verbs. And what if I have él, he, ella, she, usted, the formal you? What ending do I add on? I add on an E. And again, here IR verbs are just like ER verbs in terms of the ending. Now, you won't be able to see this, but you should know this. What about nosotros? What endings do I add on for the nosotros form? What is the ending for an IR verb? It's imos, I-M-O-S. And what about ellos? Okay, what ending do I add on for ellos, they, or ustedes, you all? It will be en, again, just like ER verbs. You should know this, but let's go ahead now and do some practice with IR verbs. You should know what all these verbs mean. You should understand all these sentences. Some have time frame, references to time or days of the week. You should understand all of this by now. So let's take a look. Yo asistir a clase los martes y jueves de las 6 a las 7. So I want to say what? I attend class los martes y jueves. So when you have los in front of a day of a week, it means on, regularly occurring. So I attend class on Tuesdays y jueves, Thursdays. Day here means from 6 o'clock, las 5 a to las 7, 7 o'clock. So I attend class on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6 to 7 o'clock. That's what we're saying. How do I conjugate the verb asistir? I get the stem, it's asist. What ending do I put with yo? It's o, yo asisto. And notice we always follow asistir with a. What about tu asistir a clase los lunes? So here you want to say you attend class when? Los lunes, on Mondays. So asist, what is the ending for tu? Es. Tu asistes. What about nosotros? We have vivir. We want to say we live in Canada. What's the stem? Vive. And what's the ending for nosotros? An I verb. Imos. Vivimos. Here we have ellos, they, and we want to say they attend GTC. So how do we say that? We have to get the stem asist. What's the ending? En. Asisten. Ellos asisten a. And finally, I did another ellos one here. They live in Greenville. Ellos. What's the stem? Vive. And the ending is en. And that is it for conjugating AR, ER, and IR verbs in the present tense. You should all be able to do this. You should be able to derive the stem, and you should know what the endings are, what endings correspond to the subject pronouns. This is very simple. You have to spend a little time on it. I cannot put this knowledge into you. You have to spend time doing it. But hopefully you've picked up how to conjugate verbs that are regular in the present tense. Thank you.